I wish we were doing this under different circumstances. But Gary, we decided about a few hours ago that we wanted to do a tribute for one Roddy Piper, who's also known as Roderick George Toombs, who passed away today at the age of 61 due to a cardiac arrest in his sleep.
Yeah, in Hollywood, California, his home. And, it's a very somber day, to find out this information. It's pretty much less than 24 hours after we had finished our podcast on Thursday night. This happened. And, of course, usually we save these discussions for a regular show or even a Sunday night show. But because it was so close to our episode, we wanted to pay homage to Roddy Piper. All of us on this show are really big fans of the guy and think a lot of him. And so we wanted to honor him in this way. So tonight is our opportunity, and it's also your opportunity. If you're listening live right now on Spreaker.com, to, hey, come on, call us, chat on that chat bubble that we have on Spreaker.com. But we do have a phone number. You can reach us, and that phone number is, Sean?
972-591-8620.
And, make sure, you give us a call and let us know what your favorite memories of Roddy Piper were. And, of course, kind of share some of your thoughts on this situation. And, we want to hear from everybody. This is your opportunity to basically put out there what you want to put out there. This is an open forum show. This show is really not regulated with anything else. This is all about Roddy Piper tonight. We're not talking any other news. We're just doing Hot Rod tonight. So we really hope you enjoyed this episode and get ready to hear plenty of great moments from the life of Roddy Piper. And, of course, share your own. So, all right, Hot Rod, we want you to take it away.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. Oh,
Man, just hearing that music, it brings up a lot of great memories. It also is kind of heartbreaking at the same point, I know a lot of people out there, have heard that music as an entrance music, but for a long time now, I've been listening to it on Roddy Piper's podcast called Piper's Pit. It has been one of my favorite shows, and of course, not being able to listen to that show anymore is going to be kind of depressing, and not only that, not hearing that music almost every week is going to be depressing. So, but it'll be definitely in the legends category of the greatest music, if you ask me, in the WB. So, one thing to let everybody know: sadly, our co-host in crime here on the show is not going to be with us, and that is Mr. Paul Leeser. He's got a busy work schedule and he's got to be up early, and he was unable to join us tonight. It's kind of sad for us because we love Paul and love hearing his opinions, and I know he really, really wanted to be on the show tonight. He expressed that, but hey, sometimes real life gets in the way, and that's okay. Paul will definitely have his say on Thursday night. So you don't want to miss that show. We're going to give Paul the floor and let him kind of open up on some of the things me and Sean are going to talk about tonight. So we are kicking it old school. Sadly, not on a good note, but we are kicking it old school, just the two of us. Oh, Sean, I mean, it's an amazing piece of news here that I never wanted to hear for a long time. 61 is way too young for a guy like Roddy Piper, an athletic man, a guy that's spent a lot of time, entertaining us all. So, But guys, this is an open forum, and we're going to let everybody have their time to call in. And so we're going to go ahead and let you guys call in as you do. We're going to do that. We're going to open up the floor. So let's go ahead and introduce our first caller. And Mr. Glenn Smith is calling. Hey, Glenn, how's it going, man?
Hey, man. I wish I could be calling on a better day. And I mean, I gotta say, this is probably one of the worst days to be a professional wrestling fan that I can think of. Yeah. Definitely, hearts are really heavy. Condolences from me, and I'm sure for everybody that cheered, booed, and everything in between. Piper, that they want it, give their deepest condolences to his family.
Definitely, I totally agree, and it's rough for wrestling fans because he has been a guy we call Sting the icon, but honestly we got two of them. If you ask me, Piper is definitely a big icon in this sport. He's known in many promotions. He's known around the world. Of course, he's a movie star as well. Done plenty of movies, and so he is all the way around the entertainment scene. What was some of your favorite moments of Roddy Piper?
Personally, I loved his the way that he was on the mic. I mean, I know that's kind of the main go-to answer that people want to say about him, but I was really a fan of some of his microphone work. I mean, he really knew, as a heel, he really knew how to get under people's skins in order to hate his guts, and even just at some of his face work. He was still amazing on the microphone. One of my favorite things that he said was, "You do not throw rocks at a guy who's holding a machine gun." And I mean, it's like, man, the dude's a genius. I mean, to come up with something like that. I mean, he definitely probably had a really sharp wit, and just from his promos that he would cut, it really shone through on that part. Definitely, I gotta say his Piper Pits segments. I mean, there aren't many that you can think of that people tend to forget about. They're all very notable for one reason. Like, he is able to create a moment every time he has a Piper's Pit segment.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of every promo that he's done, pretty much, because just because we're doing the show tonight, me and Sean both have went through a lot of the promos, and every one that I watch, I'm like, wow, this guy, he doesn't have a bad one, and it's really cool to see that there was never very many lull moments with Roddy Piper. So I agree that his mic skills were amazing. And he did such a great job and really getting under the skin of the fans, but not only that, really entertaining them in general. So, it's definitely props to him on that, and, Sean, we haven't really had a chance to hear from you. What are your thoughts today and thinking about this situation with Roddy Piper?
It's sad because he's one of the ones that I loved watching. Maybe, it's not one of these that, I had a special connection to, like Dusty or Hogan or something like that. But it's one that, when I went back and really started studying wrestling to be a wrestler myself and just to learn more, it's one of the guys that always stands out to me because he wasn't this work rate king or anything like that. He wasn't the greatest wrestler in the world, but he knew what he could do, and he knew he could talk you into the building. And everything he did look at the Piper's Pit by itself. I mean, look at all the other Piper's Pit type segments that we have now because of Piper's Pit by itself. I mean, Miz TV, that's Piper's Pit, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The VIP lounge.
Yeah, the VIP, all that stuff is
Jericho. Jericho's segment.
Yeah, the highlight reel,
Yeah.
the whatever,
The flower shop.
Yeah, the flower shop, the pea plant, all that stuff. All that stuff is
Everything.
basically the Piper's Pit, and it's just he did it, the best, and that's why you always remember it. Without Piper, you don't have WrestleMania. Without Piper, you don't have Hogan doesn't get as big as he gets. Piper
Or for
was his
that
ultimate.
matter, the Rock and Wrestling connection. I mean that's also kind of has to do with the Cyndi Lauper, Lou Albano stuff. But I mean, you wouldn't have that Rock and Wrestling connection too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, Roddy Piper was so connected within the entertainment world. It was so interesting to see, with the music world and, of course, movies. We saw him, of course, Mr. T. That was a big battle. Mr. T was one of the most, over guys in the entertainment world. And, of course, Roddy Piper got to be a part of that. And he tells plenty of funny stories about that. So if you ever want to hear more stories about that, go check out those Piper's Pits on podcast. They're great. You'll find those on the SoundCloud for sure. But we also have Mr. Brandon Bisco being with us, man, and we want to know your thoughts on Roddy Piper.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that he passed away, I think I saw it on the group. At first today, I was shocked. I was like, "What's all this talk about Roddy Piper?" And then I realized, oh wow, he died. So definitely a sad couple of weeks for the wrestling world. First Dusty, then Hogan with his whole thing, and now Piper dying. A lot of things have changed over the past couple of weeks. And then in terms of Piper, I posted it on the group earlier. My biggest memory with Piper is back in '97 at Super Brawl, and him, acting like he's going crazy and locking himself up in Alcatraz and acting all crazy in Alcatraz, and then escaping to the Cow Palace and attacking Hogan.
I think I actually saw that promo stuff when WWE used to do that "Are You Serious" thing.
But yeah, I mean, and then yeah, you mentioned it, Sean. Piper's Pit. That was the beginning of the big, talk show segments. He began all of that stuff. Jericho with the highlight reel. I mean, this is a little different, but even like Mick Foley's "This Is Your Life" type stuff. That was influenced by Piper's Pit. Miz TV, and even now, even a couple of years ago, whenever he would come back to do a Piper's Pit, it was always a huge selling point, and it was always one of the best things on Raw that week. And it wasn't the flashiest or the most crazy or most epic entrance ever, but when you heard that drum roll hit, you knew, okay, we're gonna be in for a good show right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, who doesn't love the kilt?
Yeah.
Hey, he pulls it off. I mean, if any man can pull a kilt off and look amazing and do awesomeness in it, yeah, he's okay in my book.
I know he was Scottish and not Irish, but and I know that he's a heel right now, but I would love to see Sheamus come out in Roddy Piper gear on Raw in honor of Piper.
To be honest, something that I hope that they can do for whatever Raw's Piper kind of tribute, I hope that they at least are able to, before they do like a moment of silence and do the 10 bell salute, have like a like a group of bagpipers come out and do Amazing Grace on the bagpipes.
Or even better, like, well, you could do that as well, but it would also be cool to get a bagpipe group, bagpipe corps and drum corps come out in his gear, in the shirt and the kilt,
Yes,
and do his theme live.
Yeah, I think I think there's not going to be many dry eyes in the crowd if they decide to do any of that. But also, I mean, I think there's another thing that Piper really had a big influence on is like T-shirts sales for and merchandising for WWE. I mean, next to the Hogan
for a heel
shirt,
too. I mean, we're talking about a heel selling merchandise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, but not to mention just like merchandise in general of the '80s. I mean, if you want to talk about big like merchandise sellers, like in iconic '80s wrestling stuff, you have the Hogan Hulkamania shirt, and then you have the Hot Rod shirt that Roddy Piper had, or even his Panther shirt.
Or I like
the Panther shirt that he seemingly wears to like every promo.
Yeah.
I personally liked his icon shirt in WCW.
Yeah, I actually I was it was a couple of weeks ago. I was on the network trying to surf around, seeing like all the different War Games matches, and I saw that and like the icon stuff, and it was like, it's really neat. I mean, it's nothing like his Hot Rod shirt, but it's still a really nice looking shirt.
Yeah, one thing that I'm definitely doing tonight is I'm watching Super Brawl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to watch him go crazy in a jail cell in Alcatraz.
Yeah, I think probably the best angle he did like throughout his whole career, sadly, was in WCW. How, you know how in '96 it was the first Starrcade, the setup was Piper versus Hogan, and Piper saying, "You've never pinned me. Yes, I was the loser, but you never pinned me." And I think that was a really genius build on WCW's part. I mean, we can talk as much crap on WCW, just kind of about certain things with them, but when it came down to like decent angles that they came out with, that was probably one of them. I mean, even though it's somewhat overlooked, it's still a pretty decent one.
Yeah, I mean, Piper, despite the fact that he didn't get much of a push there because it was controlled so heavily by Hogan, and Hogan had a vendetta against Piper, you know, he did have some very good work in his WCW days.
And especially given the fact that it was kind of towards the end of the line of his like in-ring career.
Yeah.
I mean, he still put a decent match together. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, he wasn't necessarily able to make himself look as good as he should have, but given his age, everything he's been through, I think it's still impressive that he had at least still some quality left in him.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, a lot of great memories and, you know, a lot of good quality stuff out of WCW and, you know, his old WWF stuff. You know, mad respect for, you know, all the stuff that he's done in both promotions. And, of course, all the stuff that, you know, you may have to find on YouTube and other places in Oregon, all that. stuff he had over there as well is just great. Well, guys, I want you both to have an opportunity to say some of your last, thoughts. We're going to probably move on and do a few other things here, but I want to give each of you the floor and maybe share your last thoughts, or maybe even say something you'd like to you wish you could say to Piper. Glenn, we'll start with you.
Man, this is tough. Thank you for everything you've done, Mr. Piper. You've definitely brought smiles. You've also brought expressions of anger and complete hatred towards you. But you did it for a purpose. You did it to try and better your life for your family. You've definitely have overcome a lot of things in these later years of your life, overcoming alcohol addiction and just some other thing, and cancer for that matter. We do owe a lot of what we have in professional wrestling today from you. We may not always see it or talk about it, but there is still so much that you've left an impact on. I will say probably the best thing, the best tribute I've seen that was made. I don't know. It was around the time of WrestleMania 3. It was WWE putting a tribute, since it was kind of your retirement thing. But they put a video package together of your moments to the Frank Sinatra song "My Way." To me, that song definitely has a very, very special place in my heart, because I sang that song at my grandfather's funeral, and just the way that you have lived your life. I think it was only appropriate that they used that song for you, because everything that you've done throughout your career, you did it your way. You did it great, and you made it look cool to be old school, and you were old school before it was cool.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for the memories. We'll miss you. Rest in peace, man.
That is great. Well, thank you, Glenn. We appreciate you calling in, man. And, of course, we'll probably be catching you soon, man.
Yeah, definitely be catching me soon. I know it's probably not the best place to kind of do some plugs, but, I actually don't want to plug my podcast that I do. I'm going to be plugging this Facebook page that I'm a results writer for. It's called Pro Wrestling Authority. It's a very relatively new wrestling page, and we're coming off the heels of this really big thing called Lucha Week. Had a lot of interviews with some luchadors. Two of them whom I can name off the top of my head, Worker and Mariachi Loco, were some of our interviewees. So if you want, go check it out and enjoy the rest of your evenings. Take care,
awesome,
guys.
Thanks, Glenn. We appreciate it. All right. Well, we do have another caller calling in. Who is this?
Anthony, what's up, man?
Hey guys, just wanted to chime in and just give my thoughts, and prayers going out to I think you guys are doing a good job with the tribute show. I thought that was a good idea, so I want to definitely call in about it.
Oh, we really appreciate it, man. Yeah, we definitely want to hear your thoughts. Before we do, do you mind if we give Brandon the floor? We're going to let him kind of give his final thoughts. Do you mind if we do that, Anthony?
Yeah, go ahead. Take your time. Go ahead.
Okay, Brandon, we're going to let you give your final thoughts and, whatever you'd like to say to Mr. Piper.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a shocker hearing that he passed today. Definitely a sad couple of weeks, as I said, in the wrestling world. And, yeah, I mean, I just hope that WWE does a good tribute for him, and for Roddy, thanks for all of the memories, thanks for all of the great, all of the things that you've done for the wrestling industry, building up the talk show segments and all of that. And yeah, I'm just hoping that WWE does something nice and really, pays tribute to him and does a good job this upcoming week on the tribute show. And yeah, the theme song is one of my favorites. His entrance music is one of my favorites. And yeah, I'm gonna have to watch some WCW and old WWF stuff tonight to relive some of his greatest moments.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll probably be talking to you about that tribute show coming up this Thursday, man. So we're looking forward to it.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, we'll catch you on the flip side, Brandon.
Yep. Talk to you guys next week.
Later. All right, Anthony. Thanks for sticking around and letting us do that, man. Really appreciate you calling in. It's been a long time, man.
Yeah, it has been a while. I've been hanging out, listening to the show. But I just I thought maybe tonight was one of those nights where you got to call in and give your thoughts. And of course, a lot of wrestling fans are hurt out there, and it should be. And I wanted to tell you guys how I felt, and and what I hope is happening here in the future. Just like the last caller had said.
Yeah, dude, the floor is yours, Anthony. Take it away, man. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you guys a quick story, real quick. I of course, we don't watch wrestling together. We all kind of talk about wrestling together, and that's cool. But the people that watch wrestling, they know me, like where I love the heels, and I've been like that ever since I was a little kid. During the Attitude Era, I wanted Triple H to bring out the sledgehammer. I loved that. I wanted him to take out people. And I'm like thinking there had to be a guy that set the path for the start that era of bad guys. And I really think it was Roddy Piper that's done that. And CM Punk always brings up the coconut over, and that is one of the best backstage brawls you will ever see in wrestling. And because not only did he hit him with a coconut, he brought the banana in there. He ripped down the whole, the
stuff you could not do today.
It's just, yeah, exactly. Stuff that you cannot do today. And it was just like the most epic thing where of course I was too young to realize, but I'm like, wow. Looking back on that, I'm like, oh man, I wish I could have seen that, and I could have, and there's so many fans out there that were, fortunate to see him wrestle in person, and that's really good for them. And there's so many memories he left. I mean, I don't ever want them to do a Piper's Pit again, of course, but I'll tell you what, he set up the way for a lot of wrestlers to do them kind of interviews. I know we don't like Miz TV sometimes, and it gets boring. But because of guys like that, and then Jericho's highlight reel, but because of Roddy Piper, we have that. You know what I mean? It's just that the other wrestlers might not do it as good, but you can thank Roddy Piper for having doing that kind of stuff. So I really, really will miss this guy. And then I just wanted to throw a side note out there. I last really watched Roddy Piper on the network with I believe the show is called Legends House, and if I'm not mistaken. And I sat there and I thought to myself, he looks like a crazy guy, like someone you would want to hang out with and just get drunk with. So I'm like, those guys are so lucky to just to hang out with him in the house and just get. He just looked like that kind of guy, and I really am gonna miss him. And he was just an awesome person to have on TV. And all us as wrestling fans were really fortunate to have him. And rest in peace. And I love Hot Rod, man. The shirt was awesome too that he wore.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I put it on the page. I got the Hot Rod black shirt. I love that shirt, and I just got it this Christmas. And I know it. I cherish it now even more because he's passed. But you're completely right. Watching Legends House, I was thrilled about it. And me personally, I've been a Roddy Piper fan for a little while now, and it was just a treat to get to watch him week in and week out, and get to see him interact with his other wrestlers, and to see the way he was. And I'm not sure, Anthony, if you watched the entire series. Did you get a chance to watch the entire thing?
You know what? I didn't get a chance to watch the entire thing. I'm hoping to go back on there and do so if it's still on there. I haven't quite checked that out, but I watched maybe 3 or 4 episodes, and I loved it because I'm a big fan of Gary Busey too. I mean, he's another crazy guy that you love, and you just see these crazy guys on there that you wish you could hang out with, and I'm like, that is definitely. I was like, I didn't think that show would work. I don't know if if that's the right thing to say, but it did. It caught my attention, and I want to go back now and finish up watching of what I missed out on. So, I didn't get a chance to finish it out, though.
Well, when you do get a chance, and Sean, I think Sean watched the entire thing, if I'm not correct, or if I'm not wrong.
No, I watched parts. Some of the episodes.
Okay. Both of you guys need to go back and watch it, and specifically for Roddy Piper. Watch his interactions with people. What Anthony just said, the guy looks a little crazy. He legitimately has a lot of skeletons in the closet. He legitimately has emotional and other issues with people. Let's just say it that way. And
right.
he legitimately walked off set and went into the desert in this show. That wasn't rigged or anything like that. He legitimately was going to leave.
I remember that.
Yeah, and he also had a few other things happen. But, outside of all that, you get a chance to see that he's not such a bad person. A lot of people in the wrestling business have demonized him and said that he's too harsh. He's this guy that can't control him, which is true. He was a man of his own word and a man that controlled what he wanted to do. He didn't let people walk on him. But it's also because of his background and the things he dealt with. But that's what I found so much interesting about that show, Anthony, is because of the fact that you get a chance when you're watching the show to see how he was as a person. In fact, if you'll also notice at the end of the show, and spoiler alert, I'm sorry, not really giving away too much here, but all the wrestlers share intimate moments in their life, things that changed their life. The only person that didn't do one was Roddy Piper. And they don't make it known. They don't point it out on the show. But I noticed, because I'm such a big fan of Roddy Piper, but there's a reason for that. And it's because the information he would not share with anybody because he's too personal. So, long story short, I think it's a great way, if you don't know much about Roddy Piper, get a chance to check out that show and listen to more Piper's Pits. I mean, you get to really know this guy and, kind of see how he is and why he is. But you can't help but love him, and you can't help but love the crazy, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what were some of your favorite moments, Anthony, of Roddy Piper? I know I also am right there in your boat. I didn't get a chance to be right there during the heyday of Roddy Piper, but I get a chance to watch film now. But what are some of your favorite moments that you've seen?
Well, like I said, the coconut over the head is just beyond classic. And I think Sean even had said, you don't see that now. And it's not just a coconut over the head that kind of tells that story. It's ripping down the whole set. It's just so awesome. He didn't just, hit somebody and leave it wasn't a backstage brawl. He beat the crap out of Superfly Snuka, and it was awesome. I mean, it was just like classic TV, and like I was saying, Bad Guys. I think he's the guy who paved this way. One of the guys definitely that's paved the way, because once CM Punk was in WWE and he was the heel, I loved it. I thought it was so awesome. I said, he is the best heel WWE has had. And then now I'm looking back, I'm like, okay, well, since Roddy Piper, maybe. You could argue that, but I think that I think CM Punk's heel when he had that title run was a lot of that, and he even said it in one of his DVDs that he wanted to do that because we saw Roddy Piper do on TV. So I love bad guys. I love bad guys in wrestling, and I think it brings out a cool character that you want to check out, and that's what I'll remember is Roddy Piper as a cool bad guy, and and just that whole attack backstage was awesome.
Definitely, I totally agree. Sean, what were some of the things that we talked about the coconut, but I'm sure you've seen some other crazy things that this guy's done that you've been thrilled and like, wow, I can't believe he did that.
Well, the whole brawl with Goldust at WrestleMania 12 is certainly not something that they want to promote, I'm sure now, but it was ridiculous for its time. It was so crazy they used OJ footage. I mean, you can't get any more nuts than that. I mean, it was just like a total just bashing them in on Goldust, and it was something fun because I don't think we've ever seen something like that again. I mean, it wasn't the greatest match in the world, honestly, but it was still fun because it's Piper doing that. I mean, Piper coming back to like SummerSlam, I think in like '95, was it, or it was earlier. I don't remember which SummerSlam it was, just to play the bagpipes. Then you didn't see him again. I think it was like might have been '93, but it was some just awesome stuff. He has like just the thing is with him, he has so many times where he just disappeared from WWE. Like he would just leave, he'd go do his movies or whatever. That one at WrestleMania 5 with Downey Jr. where he sprays the fire extinguisher in his face. It's awesome, Mr. Downey. Will you turn around, would you? Ah! Great stuff.
So many great moments, and I do want to rewind and go back to that Goldust moment when he had that whole feud. When he was supposed to be hit by the car by Goldust. He legitimately jumped in front of the car and all that. That is no joke. I mean, this guy put all of it on the line for his gimmick.
Yeah, one time there was a promo that he did where he hit himself in the head with a bottle and bled to prove a point. He was crazy.
Yeah, definitely. But what is something else interesting is he actually got to keep the Suburban. Vince let him keep that Suburban. He asked for it, so I thought that was kind of cool. He said he was mad because his wife sold it; she didn't like it. So I know it's cool stuff you get to learn about Roddy Piper on his show. But saying all that, I mean, this is definitely a great life to celebrate, and I'm glad we're actually getting a chance to share these great memories. Is there anything else, Anthony, that you kind of wanted to share? Anything?
I do, have one last thing. I will, like to say about this whole thing. But before that, was there a way preventable of, because 61 is kind of young here. I mean, and I know he suffered through some type of cancer. Was there, going back, like, did he suffer any health issues here that caused this death? Because this is just so sudden, and I think that's what got me sort of. It's all coming at me at once. You know what I'm saying? The whole Dusty Rhodes thing, and then we went through. We're going through the Hogan situation now. Now we're going through, losing Piper. So I was just, curious about, if anybody heard any word about, how because it happened so quick.
I personally haven't heard anything. Sean, I'm not sure if you have.
We probably won't find out until. That when they do the toxicology, when they do the autopsy, because it's possible it could have been, he did steroids just like all the other wrestlers from the 80s.
Yeah.
Pretty much, he obviously had alcohol problems, he stayed on. Not that, he was sober for a while, but just like we saw with Eddie, he'd been sober for like 4 years, and then they said that the complications from all the years of abuse to his body from the steroids and the drinking and all that and the drugs kind of what did him in. So let's hope it's not anything to do with that. But it's just sad. It really is. Just to be awake one day and the next day you have a heart attack in your sleep and
yeah.
especially, being a survivor, you had mentioned it already, he's a survivor of cancer, and it was Hodgkin's lymphoma that he was diagnosed with in 2006. And
Yeah.
in the last year, he told everybody, hey, I beat cancer. I've, gotten past that part of my life. And any of these things that we're talking about take a toll on your body. And it's just way too early, but that report that we'll get from the death certificate and everything, you'll understand more about that. But I'm right there with you, Anthony. This was kind of a shock to see his age and to see the fact that he left us so early, really.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of things I think that we don't know about the way people live their lives, and hopefully this is not a situation where it was something that could have been prevented. That's the stuff I hate. Finding out, he could have had some way to be saved from passing. So, lots of interesting things though when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But do you have anything else you'd like to say about Piper? I
just want to I don't know how the listenership goes, but hopefully there's young listeners that that'll listen to this, and but I just want to say, like, if they ever feel like, oh, wrestling's not so good right now, you know what? All they have to do is just watch Roddy Piper. I mean, just watch some of his clips, and you would really respect and love the passion, because it's hard for me to sit there and say, I remember this, I remember that, because I honestly don't. I have to go on maybe a video clip or the network or something like that to check out Roddy Piper, and I don't mind doing that because he was very entertaining, and I'm gonna miss the heck out of him, and I just also want to say thank you guys for putting the show together, on short notice. That's awesome, you guys. And I hope to touch base with you guys soon. And, hopefully we have a good tribute show, just like the last caller had said. Hopefully we get a good tribute show. And, it sucks that we lost a legend.
Yeah, really.
Definitely. Man, well, we really appreciate you calling in, Anthony. It's always a treat to hear from you, man. And, May, don't be a stranger. We love hearing from you, man.
Oh, I definitely will be touching base with you guys soon, okay?
All right, man. You have a good night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Oh, man. Some great callers. I love it.
Let me know in the chat that apparently Ronda Rousey is going to dedicate her fight tomorrow to Roddy Piper. So we know she's a huge wrestling fan.
Yes, if you've heard of Piper's Pit, she was actually on his show, and she respects the heck out of Roddy Piper. In fact, she asked permission for the Rowdy part of her name, and of course, it was given for sure. And so I'm terrified for the lady that she's going to be fighting tomorrow. She already hates that girl's guts. Now it's going to be worse,
So let's. Before I play a clip here of a Roddy Piper promo that he cut on Ric Flair. There was many. He had several different feuds with Flair. This was just one that I found that I thought was pretty funny. I think it was one of the first ones. But let's get WWE has a huge list of not only their wrestlers, but many others that celebrities and all that have said stuff about Piper. Cena says he's one of the true greats of all time. My heart goes out to his family, the fans he entertained over the years. Triple H was saddened by the passing of Roddy Piper, a true legend and icon, will never be forgotten. Stephanie said, thanks for all the memories. You'll always be one of my all-time favorites. Vince said that Roddy Piper was one of the most entertaining, controversial, and bombastic performers ever in WWE. Beloved by millions of fans around the world, I extend my deepest condolences. A lot of people being shocked by, as we all were, really. I was at work and I saw it and I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. This is just nuts, hearing this. And Sergeant Slaughter says he was heartbroken, lots of memories, just one of his best friends. And Seth Green wants to tell him thanks for making it okay to be weird, which... that he did. He made it very okay to be weird.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, yeah. Let's play this promo so we can have a little verbiage from the hot rod here.
Ric Flair, huh? The real world heavyweight wrestling champion. Must be a little tiny itsy world you come from with munchkins and basset hounds that don't bark. 'Cause you've been doing enough barking for them all. See me, I'm real plain and simple and direct. They call me Hot Rod. Everybody knows it. I don't have to say what I am, 'cause I've done it. That's the difference between you and me. You talk about it, I do it. Oh, you want to come out in the frilly robes? You're so cute. Of course, I come out in a kilt. Someone says I'm cute, and I bury my fist down their throat. You want to have a party? You want to see how tough you are?
All right, we have a caller. What is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Jonathan, and I'm calling from Garland, Texas. I'm Gary's homeboy.
Hey, Jonathan, what's up, man?
It is Flying Lion right on the air with us. Hey, man, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, when David and I were closing, that's when we found out Piper passed away, and I'm here to share my memories.
Yeah, dude, share away, man. The floor is yours.
Yeah, just like a lot of people, you know, Roddy Piper. You know, he's known for his role in They Live and his epic fight scene next to the dumpster. Put on the glasses, or you're gonna be eaten through the dumpster. And I love that so much. You know, like as far as you know, he's a great in-ring performer, but you know, I'm more familiar with his acting and with the Piper's Pit. So along with They Live, one of his greatest Piper's Pit, little Piper's Pit. Gosh, what's the word? I'm sorry. I just came back from a movie and I'm super tired. Yeah, his segment at WrestleMania 21 with Stone Cold was really awesome. How are you doing, Slap? It's good to be here, son of a bitch. Slap back. And they're just all slapping each other, being cool as hell. And yeah, Carlito comes in and interferes, and then they give him a stunner. And then, yeah, eventually they share a beer, and then gives Piper a stunner. But yeah, Piper, man, oh my gosh. Like, it's just too hard to swallow right now. He was just such a great guy, and it was just so unexpected today.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I gotta say.
Well, Jonathan, I mean, I you know, before you head out, I just want to let everybody know Jonathan is an avid collector of wrestling figurines. I mean, he has an awesome collection. If you guys ever get a chance to see it, maybe one day he'll post some pictures on our Facebook group. But I just have to ask you, do you have some Roddy Piper action figures in your collection?
Yeah. Recently, Walmart has this figure. They have this figure series of superstars that have T-shirts, and there's one with Roddy with the Hot Rod T-shirt. And I was looking through my wrestling figures today because I'm cleaning up my room, and yeah, I found my Roddy Piper T-shirt. Not my T-shirt, but my figure with the T-shirt. And yeah, I'll definitely take a picture and post it on the site.
Yeah, you got to do that, man. That is awesome. So, you know, Jonathan, if Roddy Piper was in front of you today, what would you say to him?
Man, yeah, a while back, a friend and I, we had a little podcast, and we were raising money for autism, and we asked Roddy Piper if we could interview him. Yeah, back in the day, I was like 15 years old, and I was little Mark, and honestly, I didn't know much about him at the time. My friend Alex, yeah, he knew a lot about him, and he pretty much took over the podcast. But yeah, he pretty much sold him. My favorite podcast was Wrestling Autism, and you know, please donate money to this great cause. He was such an awesome guy for calling in and letting us interview him.
Yeah, dude, that
That's
is
cool.
great. That is really awesome. So you got to, at least get a chance to talk to the man, and that is really cool. And man, anything else you want to say? I know you're tired, you said, but anything else? Last words you want to say?
Oh yeah. I went out. I went on a date with my neighbor, and I pretty much fell asleep during the movie. So I'm pretty much half asleep right now. But
That's okay.
yeah, much love, much respect to the guy, and may he rest in peace. He's a guy that'll never be forgotten.
Definitely. Well, thanks, man. We appreciate you calling in, Jonathan, and we'll catch you on the flip side, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Later.
Night.
Oh, man, that is... I call him Flying Lime because that's his wrestling name. He's actually a local DFW wrestler, and, he does a really good job. I've seen a few of his matches on the computer, and just, I like to support those young indie guys, and he's doing a good job, so... But man, we were having so many great calls, Sean. I'm enjoying this. This is, a great celebration of Roddy Piper's life, and you guys heard a promo that he cut right before Jonathan called in, and that was just one of our favorites. We had to play that, and we're going to play another one coming up soon. But something that I want to get into real quick, Sean, is the fact that we've been talking about his legacy, some of the great moments. But I have to ask you, in 15 and 20 years, as a deceased person, how do you think he will be remembered? Do you think his legacy will carry on that far? Are we going to be having to explain to people in 20 years who he is? Or do you think his legacy has been a big enough impact that, hey, he'll still be around and still be in the thoughts of wrestling fans?
Well, the thing is, with the way people are now, where their attention spans are really short, and the fact that they really seem to not care about looking back at history, unless they just are really big wrestling fans or something like that, it's hard for me to be able to say, well, sure, he's going to be remembered, because he should be. He basically revolutionized what we see as heels today. Mm-hmm. That whole the heel chase, the fact that you have a heel that not only is hated but is loved. He was one of the first, if not the first, that you could love him as much as you could hate him. We already mentioned the whole him selling merchandise as a heel. That wasn't something that came around before Roddy Piper really. Everything he did for WrestleMania, all his feuding with Mr. T, his feud with Hogan, the war to settle the score thing. Without that war to settle the score that was intense and crazy on MTV, there would have been no WrestleMania. There would have been nothing, and Piper was one of the reasons for that. I mean, he just really, and not just, he was such a great promo guy. Like, if he's not in your top 3 or at least top 5, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, this guy, we just played you a random promo that he cut. It's a minute long that he cut as part of just a regular TV show. And it was funny, and it got you to the point, and maybe you didn't understand a little bit what he was saying, but he made fun of Flair for wearing robes, and he says, I'm wearing a kilt, because that's what I do. It's just, mm-hmm. it fit his character so well, and he had no way to tell you things other than just to be loud about it. And his legacy is one of so many facets, and I think there's so much of that that's probably gonna get lost, and I hope doesn't get lost, because when you look at just a heel like Roddy Piper is perhaps the greatest villain that there ever was.
Yeah, I agree. And he took pride in that. He really did. And I've heard him say plenty of times, my business considered me the best villain of all time. And I think he held on to that close to his heart. He basically, he felt like he earned that, and he was, very, very proud of that. And I definitely agree with him. He earned it, every bit of it. He revolutionized, what a heel should be in the 80s. And we saw heels in the past, hey, the guys in the 70s and the 60s and even in the 50s and 40s, they had their own personas, but this is the modern age heel right here, and this is the guy that, makes up who we see on TV today. And I mean, we're still working on heels today. That's a whole other problem in today's, world of wrestling. But, just talking about his time period, he was the best. You couldn't touch him at being a heel. And I thoroughly enjoyed everything he did on the mic. And
he was one of the few that never got pinned by Hogan,
Yeah, exactly. You're totally right, and I didn't even think about that. Something else that's interesting is the fact that he worked with Mr. T. That was a very, very high-profile person to work with at WrestleMania. Mr. T. even was going to leave the building before they even got to the back locker room because I think he was having second thoughts.
Well, not to mention they just couldn't stand each other.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man. But I think Roddy Piper would have appreciated if he wouldn't have shown up because Roddy Piper, like Sean just said, couldn't stand the guy. You see, Roddy Piper took this business very, very seriously, and I guess you should, like any of us.
Well, back then it was different. Back then it was still very protected. Everybody thought it was real, or most people did at least, and it was done that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had to protect it, and you had to really put it at the forefront of, okay, I don't really like the fact that we have an outsider in here, and that's what it was, right? It was an outsider coming into his domain, and he didn't particularly care for it.
Oh, yeah, and definitely. And, a guy that was from the entertainment world was going to beat him? No way. He wasn't going to have that. And so, needless to say, I mean, it's amazing that, he was able to control himself at times, but, he was hoping, that's what I like so much about listening to his podcast was the fact that you got to get inside his head and really understand what he felt at the time and the way he felt about Mr. T. But what the cool thing is like I was talking about Legends House with Anthony, this guy has a heart of gold, and he realized at the Hall of Fame where Mr. T was being inducted that it's not all about his personal feelings. It's about understanding that the person he's in front of is a human being as well and has their family and has some of the same things that he has and he values. So, his interactions with Mr. T was very good, and they talked about maybe go getting a Coke or something like that, visiting. And but that took a lot for Roddy Piper because of the way he was. He was very hard at times, hard person to get close to. I've yet to see a tweet from Jim Duggan, but I am really interested in seeing what Jim Duggan has to say because these two guys have gotten very, very close, the best of friends, and I know that Duggan's really, really hurting at this moment because, their friendship was so close, so... a lot of fans are hurting as well because of this guy.
Yeah, I mean, and talking about those fans, we have a few in our group that wanted to say a few things, not calling in, but they wanted to, give their thoughts on the group. Roscoe said that the first baddie that I loved to hate was Roddy Piper. Then he became the good guy that I loved to love. Thanks for the memories. Watching him beat up Mr. T and Hulk Hogan was the thing that got me watching wrestling in the first place. Just when you think you got all the answers, I go and change the questions is his favorite quote, as well as Miguel Anthony Johnson's. That was also his favorite quote as well from Mr. Piper. Something we haven't even talked about is that when Piper won his only championship, his only WWE championship, the Intercontinental title, he didn't have it very long. He lost it to Bret Hart at WrestleMania 8, probably his best match ever. Obviously, it helps when you're in the ring with Bret Hart, but he was a brawler, and he was a brawler into the fact that this is before the time when you were really out there just having long matches and really putting on these great, when we got to see Steamboat and Savage at WrestleMania 3, that was one of the first big times that you got to see an actual wrestling match the way we would see a wrestling match today. So Piper just grew up in a different era, and he was a different kind of wrestler, but him and Bret Hart just worked in that match, and it was just so wonderfully done, and Roscoe has such a good point to bring that up. He says, Randy Savage was the only other worker to ever leave me with such a sense of loss at their time of death. I'm usually able to keep a wrestler's death at arm's length of my psyche, but Randy and Roddy is like losing a piece of yourself. Roddy Piper, you will be missed. Don't think that will be a WrestleMania. Don't think there will be a WrestleMania or a Hulkamania. Piper never came along, which is very true. I mean, a lot to say there, but we were talking about it, that it affects fans as well. I mean, so many on Twitter just lamenting at the fact that he has passed, and Christopher talked about the backlap brawl with Goldust. Brandon already got to come on here and talk about his. There was a nice one on the Yes Wrestling page. I think it was Michael Geller that actually responded to the post in there that I made that we were doing the tribute today, and it was kind of long, but let me get in here because it's not for some reason. There it goes. I'll just say what I feel he meant to wrestling. He pioneered a new breed of heel. While earlier versions of the heel did anything they could to be hated, he actually wanted people to want to see him. So he blended comedy, charisma, and cheap tactics. He had an uncanny knack for challenging the crowd into wondering if they were wrong to hate him or wrong to cheer for his opponent, which again had never really been done before, and set the tone for future heels like Bret, Y2J, Triple H, and Edge, to name a few. But his most important gift to wrestling was a new type of feud. One that for the title was never about the title. A grudge championship match. I think Bruno Sabisco did it first. But that was so grudgy you could have forgotten it was over the title. Piper's feud with Hogan was all about hatred of Hulk and Hulkamania. Well said there, Michael. That's a lot in there, but it's so true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. And those are some great, tributes to Mr. Piper, and I definitely, agree with a lot of these guys. It's interesting, we were getting social media hits all over the place over this, and Colt Toombs, which is Roddy Piper's son, also posted a message, and he said, "My father, Roddy Piper, was a great man and my best friend. I will miss him forever, and will always try to be the man he raised me to be." So that's interesting. I'm glad to see that he was able to post on. I just, man, it's hard, and I don't know how he did it when even Goldust and Cody Rhodes were having difficulties putting things out there. I mean, it just shows that he's able to handle this a little bit better, because I know it's a very difficult time for him, I guess. Some other guys, also responded to. Ric Flair had some things to say, as well as $1 Million Man, and so there's plenty of people out there posting things, and you'll definitely want to go check those out. And there's so many interesting stories I'm sure that we're going to hear in the future. We're going to, of course, see some more podcasts in the future. Jim Ross, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Jericho, guys like that with big, huge podcasts. They'll give you their stories and behind the scenes with Roddy Piper, I'm sure. I'm really interested to see if Stone Cold Steve Austin says anything on his podcast, just because of what we've seen recently in the news, and Stone Cold said he had nothing to do with it, but Roddy Piper claimed that Stone Cold Steve Austin was the reason that Podcast One did not basically want him around anymore. And in fact, Podcast One put a cease and desist on Roddy Piper even after he left their company to do podcasts. So that's a sad situation, and I hope if Stone Cold Steve Austin did put that in motion, I hope he. Not that he's hurting over it, but maybe he can realize maybe he should have done something like that. I just I hate to see these kind of things happen. I know I would feel terrible if I was in his shoes. So we'll see. We'll see if Stone Cold says anything on his podcast coming up this next Tuesday. So we also have another promo of Roddy Piper that we want to play here, and this one's too funny. We couldn't help it, and we want everybody to get
Jonathan
a chance.
Did post the picture of the Roddy Piper figure.
Awesome. So go check out our Wrestling to the Max Facebook page. It'll be on there. I love, to get a chance to see that guy's collection. It's great. So, but once again, we do have a really cool promo that we want you guys to hear. So, Sean, let's go ahead and hear that.
The very controversial host of Piper's Pit, Roddy Piper. Mr. Piper, I would stick around, but you're going to have to excuse me. I have to go to the men's room. I'll be right back. Thank you.
Oh, going home? Oh, my goodness, that's fine. Cow Palace. You can go to the men's room in the Cow Palace. That's a wonderful name in San Francisco because the Cow Palace is someplace that I would be proud to call my home. Cow Palace is someplace that I'd be proud to bring my gal. Because obviously if you live in San Francisco and you are going out with gals, obviously they belong in the Cow Palace. I saw one, the only thing she was missing was antlers. She would have been in season, Jack, man. I saw her coming up to me, asking me for a date. I says, man, I'm Hot Rod. Are you kidding me? He said, yeah, but aren't you the one that's going to fight Mr. Wonderful? I says, yeah, I'm going to fight Mr. Blunderful. They says, but aren't you the one that's going to fight him with all them wrestlers around the ring? I says, yeah, that's me. He says, don't you know what he's thinking? Of course. Yeah, I know what he's thinking. Absolutely nothing, man. When he's in a room alone, he is all alone. You see, you forget, I rode with him. I know what an idiot this guy is. I know his moves. Oh, yes, he's tough. I know he's tough. You think I ain't, man? I've been around. You know that. I've been there before. He's tough enough to go and bench press 500 pounds. Who really cares, man, huh? Your idea here of a wrestling match here, you got 12 wrestlers around the ring. You got dancing midgets and leathers. You got everything that you've ever wanted in a match. You know why I signed this? Incidentally, it didn't take me 2 months to sign this match. No. It didn't take me 2 months to make up my mind, brother. No. I said, you want me to fight somebody? I'll fight anybody. Who do you want? Just let me fight him. Orndorff says, well, I'm going to take my time. Going to take me about 2 months, and I'm going to go right now and go to the bathroom and think about it, and now I'm back. Right there. It's your idea of Orndorff's father. You see, that's going to happen after you fight me. Going to be nothing left of you except for old and bald and ugly. You ain't going to be no Hot Rod. You're just going to be somebody that can't keep his bladder empty.
Thank you very much, Roddy Piper. Back in the Bay Area.
Oh, man. So funny.
I love it. It is too classic, man, and I'm so glad there is a YouTube and we can revisit these moments over and over and over again. It's too classic. But we've talked a lot about the life of Roddy Piper, and we've talked, a lot about the different big memories and moments in his career. I'm really excited about hearing from our co-host Paul Leeser. I'm so excited just to get a chance to get into his head and what he's feeling and hearing his thoughts. So we'll be hearing those on Thursday coming up this week on our regular show. I'm hoping we'll also get an opportunity to hopefully hear from Chris Limsky, the guy, the fourth co-host of this show. He's been wrestling for a long time, and he's also involved in the entertainment world. So I really want to get his feedback. I'm hoping he'll have an opportunity to call in this next Thursday as well. But if, a few other things, we're just going to wrap this thing up. I think we've pretty much said our piece, but Sean, I've given everybody else the floor, and I definitely have a few things I want to say. But, what are some final thoughts that you want to say, or maybe even some of your thoughts of what you would say if you could actually speak to, Roddy Piper one last time?
Well, I would definitely say thank you for all the years of giving us wonderful television, wonderful entertainment, and just showing the world that things can be different, that you can do things in a new way, showing, so many things can be attributed to what Piper did back then to what we have now. So, thank you for all that. Obviously it's not just Piper by himself, it's all his dance partners and all the people he had to go through with, but it's just I don't think we ever think about these days coming when we think about our favorites and the people that we admire the most in wrestling, or whether it be wrestling or another platforms. It's just, it feels like it's been too many this year. And just thank you for everything, Roddy Piper, because from your music, from your promos, from just everything, you gave us so much, and you still had much more to give us. I mean, sucks you were doing that podcast and you were giving us so much like insight into things, and maybe, he did it differently than Stone Cold did, and maybe, at times he had his own quirky way of delivering what he wanted to say, but it was him, that's how he's always been, and it's awesome. Even from the times where he got to blast a coconut in Zack Ryder's face, and when he was supposed to be Sean O'Hara's manager.
Oh, man. That's not very good memories either.
Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, man, there's so many things like that. And,
he had this awesome dog collar match, I think, with Greg Valentine that people need to go watch. I think it was in 83. I don't know if it was at the 83 Stargate or not, but it's really awesome. People think about dog collar, when people think about these Texas death matches, these strap matches, all those kind of things, go back to that match, because that match was awesome. When he painted himself half black and half white for the Bad News Brown feud, that was amazing, because that would never happen now. Never. Just awesome.
You think Hulk Hogan's in trouble? Do you imagine how bad Roddy Piper would be in trouble? Yeah. In the fact that also, he couldn't get that off. He got ribbed, and they got rid of the solution that would actually take that pain off. He had to go to the airport like that. So that's pretty nuts.
Yeah, for real.
Stories like that, you get a chance to hear, from him on the podcast, and I enjoyed every one of them. There's so many. I love hearing him talk about the fact that, he went to I'm blanking on the name of the actual arena it was. Oh, the Olympic Arena, or Olympus, out there in California. But he had talked about the fact that he was out there and it had a really heavy Mexican-American following, and they all, were there. That was what the Guerreros were. The Guerreros were the stars there, kind of like the Von Erichs were in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That was what the Guerreros were out there. And, he said that, he apologized for some of the things he did, like coming out in a sombrero and things, riding a donkey. He said, I'd apologize for that. And because of, of all that, I want to make sure I get a chance to respect everybody here, and I'm going to play the Mexican national anthem. And everybody got on their feet, and they were excited about hearing the Mexican national anthem. And then he played La Cucaracha. So that didn't go over well, and he almost got killed. And talking about Roddy Piper almost getting killed, the man has been stabbed several times, and he lived to tell the stories, and, been shot at, all sorts of things. This guy survived a lot of things. He survived cancer, he survived being stabbed, and I'm sure there are a lot of other incidents, car accidents, different things like that this guy had made it through, and some reason, he was taken from us a lot earlier than we expected. And the nice thing I like to think about is this man got a chance to pass away in his home. It wasn't somewhere strange or anything in a different environment. It was at his home. And that's the kind of things you do want to hear when someone does pass. And so, I'm like you, Sean. I thank the man for all the entertainment, all the great stories. Listening to him talk, it was like listening and learning under the tree of knowledge. Getting a chance to hear about the business, getting a chance to hear about life and what's important. And things that he shared were really invaluable. And I recommend anybody who has the opportunity to go back and listen to those Piper's Pits. who has an opportunity to go look on YouTube and see some interviews with him or anything, go check him out. I mean, not only is it entertaining, but you may actually learn something from this guy. And he had his own opinions. Don't get me wrong. I don't agree with all of his opinions. He used to say that cops was the detriment to our society. I'm not sure that show was really the detriment to our society like he thought it was.
Well, it doesn't show the greatest part of society.
No, it doesn't. But, he was blaming it for making society, evil, and that, it made people want to be on the show Cops and things like that. It made cops bad people, too, at times. And, I don't know if all the cops on there wanted to be big and bad, but, who knows? Right. But you got to respect the guy had his own opinions, and that's what's...
I forgot that he won the World Tag Team titles with Flair.
Oh, wow.
At one point in 2007.
Wow. See, this guy's done so much, Sean, and, I was a big proponent of WCW. I remember him in WCW, but I would really have to revisit all of his stuff in WCW.
Yeah, he did beat Hogan in the main event of a Starrcade. Which would be his first win over Hogan because he never did it in WWE. So
yeah, so many great things. I really need to personally go back and revisit some of those WCW moments because I was a big fan, but at the same time, my memory is kind of lacking on everything that was Roddy Piper at that time. But there's so much great stuff for us to go check out, and that I'm so glad we have the opportunity. The network is going to have us. Right there tuned in, and of course, you'll probably check some stuff out.
Hopefully, they do a tribute for him. I'm sure they will.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they did for Dusty and for everybody else. He was certainly an even underrated actor, as John Carpenter said in his tweet as well. Just wish he would have been able to just do more for everything. But I mean, he left us a great legacy. Hopefully, something that we will be able to cherish and enjoy for many years to come.
Yeah, definitely. And, once again, I have to go purchase that movie now. They Live is one of my favorites. I love They Live. And, of course, he did another film I can't wait to watch, Wrestlers vs. Zombies. I haven't seen that yet. I got to see that. Have you seen it, Sean?
I have not, but now that I know that exists, I need to see it.
Yes.
Apparently... I also need to go try to find his DVD again. I had it before someone stole all of my wrestling DVDs.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that sucked. But,
yeah, we both got a lot of catching up to do.
But what's funny is he not only won the best heel in '84 and '85, he won two years the worst worked match of the year. Mr. T's boxing match at WrestleMania 2, and that Super Bowl match with Hogan that Brandon was talking about.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, you can't win them all. I guess you can, but it's not exactly in the winning fashion, I guess. Jeez, that's awesome. So it's just kind of like his movies. He definitely didn't do a lot of just wonderful movies, but, he was in them, and he had a good time doing them, so that's what's important, So go check out the filmography. Go just, get on, the Wikipedia, get on anything you can find, IMDb, and check out all of Roddy Piper's stuff. You won't be disappointed. He was just one of the greatest entertainers our time has seen, and definitely be missed, for sure. In the world of wrestling and, of course, entertainment as well, So, well, Sean, unless you have anything else you would like to touch base on, I think we're going to wrap this thing up. We really had a great time. We want everybody to know that we do a show every Thursday night, and that is going to be live, of course, like we always do. If you want to come check us out, we usually start around 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Central, usually. So if you'd like to come check us out on our regular scheduled program, we have a lot of things we cover. We cover all the American promotions, and we do New Japan as well. Shauna's doing the G1 series currently. He's about midway through that.
I have to get up in 2 hours to watch again.
Oh, boy. So we better let Sean get some rest before he has to be up and doing that again. So, make sure you go check all that stuff out. You can find us at a lot of different places. On most any podcast network, you'll be able to find us. And no matter what your favorite one is, iTunes is a big one. You can find us on iTunes for sure. We're on a few websites, and as well as you can find us on Spreaker.com live. So lots of places you can check us out. Sean, anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, we had a show last night, reviewing all the Wednesday shows and talking about all the things that have been going on in wrestling, the network doing good, and then Hogan and all that stuff. So if this is your first time listening, we do a regular podcast, and we do reviews of the pay-per-views and all those other things. So, I mean, we try to really take our name and make it mean something. And so, and speaking of making it mean something, I think we need to end this with Roddy Piper getting to say his famous catchphrase at the end.
Yeah, I think so. I think we need to give him the last word here. So we definitely want to thank all the people that called in. Definitely want to thank Brandon Bisco, thank Glenn Smith, of course, Anthony, one of our favorite guys that calls in, and of course Jonathan Allen, who gave us a call in, flying line himself. But you know what? It is time to move on, and we are going to let Roddy Piper have the last word.
Being the kind of person that I am, and I like to give everybody a fair break. What I'm doing out of the kindness of my heart, I have a gentleman here named Frank Williams. Frank Williams, first of all, I don't know where you come from.
I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
From Columbus, Ohio. I've wrestled in Columbus, Ohio. I've never lost a match in Columbus, Ohio. Have you ever lost a match?
Yeah.
You have. See, it seems odd to me when you're talking about fighting careers and a career like myself. I went on the premise of never having to lose a match. I've never lost a match in my whole career. I've had different things happen to me, but I have never actually lost a match because I figured once you were defeated one time, that it would take that oomph away from you that you needed. Yourself, you're just the opposite. I have never seen you win a match in my whole career of watching you, and I've seen you've been around. You've fought some tremendous fighters. I've seen what you've done, but you lack the guts. You lack the authority to go in there. You lack the guts, and when you're against the ropes, what you do is instead of going after a man, you just back off from him, maybe a little cowardism, maybe what you do, maybe you should be making pizzas.
I'm not a coward of nobody. I'm not afraid of nobody, otherwise I won't be there.
Wait a second. Just relax. This is verbal. This is not physical. Pizzas or something like that, maybe.
I said, I'm not afraid of nobody. I'm always inside ring, no matter what. And I don't run from nobody.
You got no room for nobody. That's a wonderful thing. You got no room for nobody, but you're a lousy wrestler. It's as simple as that.
I might be a lousy wrestler, but I'm still in there. And I'm not afraid of nobody.
Piper hammering away. Oh, no. Piper all over Frank Williams. What? Unbelievable. It's simple as this. Oh, no. Oh. That's incredible. Oh.
They think they got the answers. I change the questions.